All right, so ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
I'm excited about this one. I think this deep dive is going to get people thinking, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. It's a little different from our usual stuff.
Right, like we're not looking at a study or a book or anything. It's more like, well, you could almost call them proverbs.
Hmm.
These personal reflections on finding contentment, self-acceptance, happiness, that whole thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And some of them are pretty counterintuitive, which I love.
Yeah.
Like one of the first ones that kind of jumped out at me was this idea that things we get too easily without much effort, they kind of lose their meaning.
Right. Right away, that got me thinking about like effort justification.
Effort justification?
Yeah, it's this psychological thing. Like we tend to value things we've put more effort into.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I've totally experienced
Yeah,
that.
it's like the IKEA effect, right? People love that furniture they built themselves, even if it's wonky.
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally. So what you're saying is it's not really about the thing itself. It's about the journey.
The struggle, the effort, all that, it shapes how we feel about the result. Like, think about that time you trained for that half marathon.
Oh, God. Don't remind me. I was so sore.
But you did it, and you
Yeah.
felt amazing afterward.
Oh, absolutely. Even though I swore I'd never run again. But okay, yeah, I get it. The effort, the challenge, it's all part of the satisfaction.
Exactly. And that kind of leads into the next point, right? About expectations.
Oh, yeah. The proverb about high expectations, even good ones,
Yeah.
potentially being a problem.
That's the one. It's tricky because, we're always told to aim high, have big goals. But I think what this is getting at is if those expectations get out of hand, too rigid, too unrealistic, it can set us up for disappointment.
Yeah, yeah, like always chasing some perfect version of ourselves or our lives and then missing out on what's right in front of us.
Exactly. It's a recipe for unhappiness. We got to make space for self-compassion in there.
Definitely. Being kinder to ourselves, accepting that we're not perfect, all that.
And I think that's even harder nowadays. Social media, it's all these curated versions of people's lives. It's tough to not compare,
Oh, it's the worst for that. Makes it so hard to just, be happy with who you are, what you're doing.
which is, I think, what this next proverb is all about. The one about defining your own purpose.
Oh, right. Not trying to be like everyone else, not doing what everyone else is doing. That's a powerful one.
It is. It's about looking inward, figuring out what truly matters to you. What kind of person do you want to be? What's your legacy going to be?
Okay, now that's deep. But it's true. It's
That,
about authenticity.
that's it. Living a life that feels true to you, not based on what others think you should be doing. And there are so many ways to find meaning and purpose. Career, relationships, creative stuff, community involvement.
So many possibilities.
Hmm.
But it takes some work to figure out, right? Like what really resonates with you, what gets you fired up.
Absolutely. It's a journey for sure. And it's easy to get sidetracked, especially with all the messages we're bombarded with, all the shoulds and musts.
Totally. Which brings us to, this one really hit home for me, the proverb about uh, not accumulating too many things.
Oh, yeah, embracing simplicity.
That's it. Less stuff, more living, right?
Yeah, I love the imagery in that proverb. It's like all those possessions, they're like heavy rocks we're carrying around.
Weighing us down. It's so true. I've been trying to be more mindful of this myself.
Me too.
Like instead of buying things I don't need, I'm trying to focus on experiences, spending time with people I care about.
That's a good switch. Experiences over possessions, there's definitely a movement towards that.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Memories, relationships, those things bring way more lasting happiness than, the latest gadget or whatever.
No question about it. It's about simplifying, focusing on what actually matters.
And for me, a huge part of that is self-love, which, funny enough, the next proverb is all about that.
Right. Loving yourself, recognizing your worth, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and it's not about being narcissistic. It's about, I don't know, appreciating who you are, your strengths, even your flaws.
And there's tons of research backing that up. Good self-esteem, self-love, it makes us more resilient, more confident, more likely to actually go after what we want.
Okay, but I'm curious, how do we make sure that self-love doesn't turn into, you know, being full of yourself?
That's the million-dollar question. I think it comes down to the difference between self-love and self-absorption.
Okay, yeah, explain that.
So self-love is about recognizing your worth, treating yourself with kindness, taking care of yourself. But narcissism, it's about thinking you're better than others, lacking empathy.
Gotcha. So it's like finding that balance where you value yourself, but don't let your ego run wild.
Exactly. And this all ties into the proverb about attitude, how we see the world.
Right. Like
Hey,
we have a choice in how we react to things, how we frame our experiences.
it's about choosing to focus on the positive, looking for those silver linings, and that can make a huge
Oh,
difference.
absolutely. I'm all about optimism and gratitude, which, hey, that's another big theme in these proverbs, isn't it?
For sure. They talk about forgiveness, letting go of negativity, all that stuff, holding on to anger, resentment. It just eats away at
It's
us.
like you're the one who ends up suffering the most.
And it's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing yourself, finding peace.
Makes sense. And then, of course, we've got to talk about gratitude. It's such a simple thing, but so powerful.
And there's a ton of research on it too. Gratitude can literally change your brain, reduce stress, help you sleep better, even boost your immune system.
No kidding. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems almost too good to be true, but all that just from focusing on what you're thankful for.
That's the crazy part. Shifting your focus from what you lack to what you have, it can seriously change your life.
So as we're wrapping up here, I'm curious, what really resonated with you from all these proverbs?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that, like, true contentment, it comes from within. It's not about what you achieve or what you have. It's about finding peace and acceptance within yourself, knowing your worth, embracing your flaws, choosing to see the good. It's an inside job.
Beautifully said, and so true. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought, one question to ponder. What's one small thing you can do today to show yourself a little love, a little appreciation, something to nourish your soul, remind you of your worth? Until next time, happy diving, everyone.
Happy diving.